Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning. 15 minutes to change our life. Look at the Sichas Chelak Aleph, Parshas Vayakhel. Vayakhel B'Kudei. This week's a double parsha. We're going to learn a Sichah from Parshas Vayakhel, a short vart. Mr. Hashem will finish it today. Tomorrow we'll learn something about Adar, Simcha, important understanding of what does it mean to be Simcha, and how do we live Simcha. Okay. This something very interesting is that this Sikha comes from a Purim Farbrengen. The Rebbe said it was a very famous Purim Farbrengen. It's Tavshin Chai, 1958. And in that Farbrengen, it's a very long Farbrengen. The Rebbe said a lot of Chaim. The Rebbe said a lot of tense things. And this is right at the beginning of the Farbrengen. And it's a very, in some sense, simple, but it's very beautiful. And this is sort of what we've been talking about, how you constantly see the theme that's running through everything that we learn, and the Rebbe is always showing you how everything in Torah is meant to be not just kept in the books and closed, but taken and applied to our lives. Let's see. Mina Pasuk, in this week's Parsha, in the Pasuk it says, these are these things, so we learn in Chumash for the first day of this week's Parsha about the 39 malachas. And it's in connection with the Mishkan. Let's see. Gemara says, Malacha, to have a Mishkan, have a malacha. What is the definition of work? He says, on Shabbos, 6 days you should work, and on Shabbos you rest from work. You're not allowed to work on Shabbos. What does it mean? So what is the definition of work? How do we define it? If we all just say whatever I define as work, one guy could be doing something, the other person is not doing it. Whatever you think is work could be for someone else's pleasure. So how does it work? So what's the definition of work? So the Gemara says, whatever the malach of the Mishkan, whatever the effort that it took to build the Mishkan, all that process, that is considered work. Malacha shenasis b'Mishkan and nikras malachas asur Shabbos, and whatever work was done on the Mishkan, that is considered work in regards to Shabbos, and that's what you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. That's why the 39 malachas. If you look, there's some books that go through all the malachas based off these 39. Minauv dash lamentes malachis nilmedes milamentes malachis and Mishkan. So there was learning out a very beautiful part from the fact that we learn what does it mean work. Not what we define as work, but what the Torah defines as work is the Lamates Malachis, or what it caused to build the Mishkan. Move on, Shalamates Malachis, Kishur Malachis Mishkan. So therefore, the 39 Malachis is connected with the Mishkan. So now, meaning like this, meaning we're saying that you have the Mishkan. How is it built? It took 39 different types of Malachis. So when we say on Shabbos, we are not allowed to work on Shabbos. What type of work is 30? It's these 39 malachis. That's what we're saying. Now you do a harei shekol limud dvarim zeh mizeh shv'teira einay mikri chas v'shalom. Now the Rebbe says everything we see in Torah, we learn from Torah, is not just happen to be. It happens to be that how do we learn about what does it mean work? What does it mean not allowed to work on Shabbos? We learn it out from the fact what it took to build the Mishkan. So you could say, okay, but there's no connection to them. They said, of course, it's not true. Chas v'shalom to say that Ella she'melamed she'hamelamed v'halamad hem epnim yosam davar echad. Really, meaning we're saying, how do we know? What is it? How do we know what the definition of work is in order to know what you're not allowed to do on Shabbos? So we learn it out from the work that it took to build the Mishkan. So what we're saying is, so you could say, okay, and that's where it goes. But they're saying, no, it can't be. We're in Torah. In Torah, everything is exact. So therefore, those two ideas, the building of the Mishkan and Lamates Malachis, that is, and what the definition of work is, which is not on Shabbos, are all connected. So let's see. So the connection is in two ways. But Aleph, Shiur Shalom Tes Malachis, Hey Malachis Mishkan. The source of work of Lamed Tes Malachis, the source of work is the work of the Mishkan. Kalema meaning Shekol HaMalacha Nevas B'Ishtalshlus Malachas Mishkan. Every work that we do, every type of work that we are doing, it's mishtalshal. It comes down. It's sourced in the Malachas Mishkan, the work of the Mishkan. That's one. And base lefichach, therefore gam hatara hatachlis shakol malach is therefore being at the source of our work. And why do we work? And the whole setup of having to go to work and doing work, whatever it is, any type of work that we're involved with. Where is it sourced? Being that it's sourced in the Malachas Mishkan, the work of the Mishkan, so too, Gam Shal Malachas Hashus, he nasis b'mtzausan the Mishkan v'dir lo yisbarach hakasuv hodachat eyu. So therefore, all work that we do is like we're building a Mishkan, just like we learn what does it mean work in regards to Shabbos. It's the 39 Malachas, which is what was used to make the Mishkan. So therefore, any work that we're doing is also coming from that same idea, and therefore we're also building a Mishkan. Just like the 39 Malachis is what was used to build the Mishkan, so too our work, what we're not allowed to do on Shabbos, which means what we normally do during the week, is also part of building the Mishkan. And how do we see this? Because like it says in the Pasuk, in all your ways you should know Hashem. Meaning, in the Mishkan, it's very clear that you have to do these things to build the Mishkan. But in our world, we have to build the Mishkan, but it's not as clear. And there we're going to discuss this. The Fizes, according to what we're saying, that the whole definition of work is coming from what we meant in what they did in the Mishkan, and being the purpose of the Mishkan was making a dwelling place for Hashem. So certainly when we go to work and do our work during our day, that's also part of building the Mishkan. So to nowadays understood, and nowadays that things that are permissible to do malacha, we diminish the amount of learning and the amount of davening that we do. Not to cut short the time of work. Meaning, we're meant to work. It says in the Pasuk, this week's Parasha, 6 days you should work. And some opinions hold that's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to go to work. I mean, they were saying that back in the day, they just learned all day. And they had a little bit of time to do work. But nowadays, we don't have it. And we daven only a little bit. Especially if you have kids, you have even less time to daven. And so you have a little bit of time to daven. But it's not to go work. And that's a whole separate thing. But that work is part of building the Mishkan. That's what he's saying. So yes, okay, and it's even more than this. The Pasuk yeah, they always say that 6 days of work is a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to go to work as well. So how can put all this stuff together? Mishkan, being the whole purpose is that we make a Mishkan, we make a dwelling place for Hashem. So move on Shezum mitzvah. This is a mitzvah. Meaning, and this is a beautiful idea he's saying, the person was built to work. So there's so many good points here. First of all, he's saying we have to recognize that there's not a split personality that we have. We have a personality when we're learning, when we're davening, when we're listening to Shiur, and then there's our personality, and then there's who we are when we go to work, and that's a whole different thing. They're saying they're all the same thing. It's all one continuous strand, continuous idea, which is making a dwelling place for Hashem. And that's what we're learning out from the Malachas Mishkan. That's what they're saying we're learning out. That they're all one thing. And we have to realize that when we go to work, or when we go to take care of the kids, or we're davening, they're not separate things. They're all the same. It just happens to express itself in different ways. And some of them are more clear. Some of them are much easier to just express and to see it. And some of them are a little harder. But the recognition that we're meant to be having here is, how do we know what does mean work? But what it took to build the Mishkan, so to realize when we're going to work, we're also building the Mishkan. And how do we? But the Mishkan is very clear. The place of Torah, Tefillah. It's like a very, it's like going, like, it's like sitting there and learning. Learning is very easy to see that I'm making a dwelling place for Hashem. When I'm going to make eggs in the morning for my kids, or send them off to school, and having a conversation with them, or going to work, how do I see And this is the dear Leis Baruch. But we're saying, it's the first thing we're saying, we have to realize that it is. That it's not now I have to go to work and I have to leave that, but that's also part of it. And the second point he's saying here, he's bringing out that it's a word from Iyuv, Ki Adam la'amal yulad. We were born to work. Meaning, especially in our generation, it's like we have no patience and we want to have vacation all the time. I'm not saying we shouldn't, we all should, but we have to recognize that we're built to work. One of the they say that like one of the symptoms of wealth is depression. Meaning when we have a lot, we have so much time on our hands, and so we stop working. We don't push ourselves. But really, we were born to work, push ourselves. We should have a schedule, get up in the morning, get to work. Even if it's not physical work, like in an office paying, which, it's taking care of the kids. But like, it's not like, we shouldn't have to do this. We're not happy if we don't. That's the point. And we're a machine that's made to work. So when we work, and the choices, we make right choices, so we work in the right direction. But when we do that, it feels much better. It feels good. Whereas we don't, even if we have all the money, enough to work, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have the time, I'm free, whatever it is, it's not going to make you happy. And this is another important point. Because we're talking about tomorrow or a little later, we're talking about happiness. What we're saying here, we were born to work. We have to realize this. The goal in life is not to sit on the beach and do nothing all day. The goal in life is to work, to push ourselves. Yeah, so Shekain, Hahev Dabein Ha'ilam, Kulei, Lebein HaMishkan, the difference between the world in general and the Mishkan, meaning we're saying that how do we know what does it mean work, by what it took to build a Mishkan, and we're also building a Mishkan. Similar to the same thing, but clearly it's not the same thing. It's not the Mishkan and our work are not the same. So what's the difference? He says the difference is Hurak Ahevdo ben Koyach lebein Pearl. It's the difference between potential and actual. HaMishkan hu Mishkan bepearl. The Mishkan was in actuality a dwelling place for Hashem. Va'olam kulei hu Mishkan bekoyach. Whereas the world is in potential. Meaning the Mishkan is one of these places that it's obvious. Godliness is here. This was built for. It only serves one purpose. Reveal godliness. Nothing else can be used in any other way. Whereas us in our world, we can do the same thing, and that's what we're trying to do. And that's what we should be doing. The same thing. Same Mishkan. When you go to the Mishkan, it's obvious that Hashem is there. So too, in our lives, it should be obvious. The only difference is the Mishkan, it was built in to the system, whereas for us, we have to reveal it in the system. It's also built in, but in a concealed way, and we have to reveal it. So yesh efei lenatzel kol rega lemalacha shemivia ka'amu min hakoyach lepoel. So we have to use up every opportunity that we're saying, and every moment that we have to bring out this potential into actual. B'chol rega kayem hatzivui shel b'chol dechdeyu. That every moment there is the command to be able to fulfill in every way know God. And this is such a beautiful verse, such a beautiful way to start the week, that when we go out into the work and whatever we have to do, that it's not in clear guidelines of Torah or mitzvahs, that it's like in this obvious way. We have to realize that the same Mishkan that we have when we're davening and when we're learning and we're doing the holy things, or we're putting tzedakah, so too we can and we should have that in everything else. And it's a simple thing, meaning when you go to work, you be a nice person, you give some tzedakah, you make sure everything's done honestly. When your kids, it's talking to them nicely, informing them, giving them hugs and things like this. It's not like when I go to work, I'm hanging out with my kids, I have to be learning chitas while I'm talking to my kids. It's being there present, but it's having this living. I'm not just have to do all these things, but hey, I got to do all these things and make a mishkan for Hashem, a dwelling place for Hashem in this different way. And also realizing, like we said, that a person was built to work, that we have to push ourselves, we have to make sure that we're not just being lazy. And we think to ourselves, well, like this is a symptom of society. It's like, oh, we should relax. That's what we want to do, relax. That's the ultimate goal, is just sit and do nothing. But it's not true. It doesn't mean we shouldn't take breaks. We shouldn't overwork ourselves and push ourselves. We should take breaks. But the purpose of the break is making a mishkan. Part of the mishkan break is a mishkan. And that's like part of the week we have Shabbos. And so it's a part of the mishkan our mission that we're building is also taking a break. But that break is part of the process, not my goal in life. As finish it off, as my friend said, his shlucha said, they would go to the holiday house twice, 2 weeks out of the year. And so she would say, the whole world works for 50 weeks out of the year in order to take a vacation 2 weeks out of the year. She said, we take a vacation 2 weeks out of the year in order that we can work for the next 50. Meaning they're doing exactly the same thing. They're working for 50 weeks and they're vacationing for 2 weeks. But what's the purpose of the vacation? Is the work for the vacation for the work? And this is what we're saying here, that we have to work, to push ourselves, to realize that in every moment in life, we can make a dwelling place. The only difference between our dwelling place that we're trying to make versus the one that was made with a Mishkan is that was in B'Poel, that was in actuality, and we have it in potential. Hashem, by all of us, we should bring out the Mishkan within us, and we should, and when we do it, it will be good. It'll all be good. So l'chaim, and have an amazing day.